prediction from me. Councillor Trail.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Chair Anderson, for your presentation. I have a few questions for you. Now, to begin, I'm not sure if you were listening earlier when I mentioned the announcement regarding the Maclean's magazine about the trash incinerator's $75,000 party. Now, do you remember what number that the region came in at on that list by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Would you care to share that number?
I think we only made 21.
So now I understand that shortly after this magazine came out that a motion came forward at Regional Council by Councillor Jennifer O'Connell that requested an inquiry on behalf of the taxpayers into this expenditure, and that you spoke against it, and the motion was ultimately defeated 11-13. Now, if you were so confident that all the proper procedures were followed with respect to the decision-making process for spending that money, why wouldn't you have supported an inquiry?
Well, if you'd like us to spend some money on something everyone should have known about, we could do that. But if council read their agendas, read the budgets, they would have known the answer. And just so you know, I didn't speak against it at council, so don't suggest I did.
So, in your opinion, don't you feel that a public inquiry would have cleared the air, so to speak, with respect to this issue?
Which part is not understandable? We spent $75,000. 25,000 was spent by us, 25 by York, and 25 by Codanta. Which part of that doesn't anyone understand?
Now, I understand that you apologized for this expenditure.
No, I didn't. I apologized for ordering tents, not for the event.
So you did not apologize for spending taxpayers' money on sushi and jumbo shrimp?
No.
Or you did not apologize for spending taxpayers' money on miniature souvenir shovels?
No.
Okay. Now, I want to know on behalf of the residents of Ward 3 what you can say...
Well, you were there. Did you not get a shovel when you were there?
Actually, I was not inside the event. I was outside the event with the members of the public.
I think you were there. I think we have pictures of you inside the tent.
I was photographing the inside of the air-conditioned tent to put on my website, Chair Anderson.
All right.
If I can continue without interruption by the speaker. Okay, I also would like to know what you can say to my residents, my constituents in Ward 3, who are concerned, and they'd like to know what you can say to them to convince them that their tax dollars won't be wasted in such a frivolous and irresponsible manner again.
Well, let me say to your taxpayers, which are, by the way, our taxpayers, not yours, but let me say this. If you want the region of Durham to present itself like somebody who doesn't know how to conduct business or doesn't present themselves in a professional manner, you hold your functions the way you want, we'll hold ours the way we want. What we had here was we had the Prime Minister invited, we had the Premier invited, we had both Ministers of Environment invited, we had people from Europe attending, and we had some councillors from this council inviting all their Facebook friends to photocopy their invitation and crash the party. So I don't know how you would like that, but maybe if you're having a party and I find out about it, I'll invite some of my Facebook friends over. But we were representing the region of Durham. It's a $270 million project. We paid $25,000 for groundbreaking, which I think is a pretty good investment. We had worldwide recognition. We had worldwide press. I think it was money well worth spending, to tell you the truth. So that's my explanation to the residents. So you might have your own, but that's mine.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So is it fair to say then that you feel that by inviting the people who are essentially paying for this project through their tax dollars, that they are in fact, they're crashing the party?
I think it was a closed party that was by invitation only, and if you weren't invited, you as a councillor shouldn't have been suggesting a whole bunch of people go when they know they weren't invited.
So I'm going to move on to the next issue. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for that. That was very illuminating. The next question I have for you involves something that you mentioned earlier, that the general contractor will be on site in February. Now, when I was knocking on doors during the campaign for council, the majority of the residents that I encountered were opposed to the project. Now, a small minority actually supported the project because they looked forward to the jobs that the construction of the project would bring. Indeed, there are actually 2 union locals and many of their members right in Ward 3, and these other workers, struggling through a recession who told me that they really looked forward to the jobs that this project would create for them. And that actually they'd been assured by both politicians and their local business managers and by the proponent that the project would be built using local union workers. Now, according to the Daily Commercial News and two building trade business managers for union locals in my ward, this is no longer the case. Can you tell me, is it true that the union signatory construction contractor AECON, who was present throughout the entire environmental process over the last 7 years, is it true that they're strangely no longer the construction contractor for this project?
I think you're right.
Now, with AECON gone, what guarantee is there that this $272 million project will in fact be built by local union workers?
Well, we have an agreement with Covanta, and they know our position on hiring local. They know our position on tendering, and they know our position on purchasing. So we would assume that they'll keep their word and hire as many local people as they can.
So you have Covanta's word that they'll hire local union workers to build the incinerator?
I not only think I have their word, I think they said it at a public meeting in Clarington.
So this leads me to one of my questions. Now, I'm just going to list a few places, and if you can tell me what they have in common, I'll be very brief. Philadelphia, Lancaster City, and Chester, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh, Springfield, and Rochester, Massachusetts. Oklahoma, Florida. Wallingford, Connecticut, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Warren City, Newark, Oxford, and Union City, New Jersey. Alexandria, Virginia, and Dublin, Ireland. Does anything pop to mind? Do these names ring a bell by any chance? Are you familiar?
All but one of them are in the United States.
Thank you. Actually, I can tell you, these places are all places where Covanta-operated incinerators have not just broken their word, but they've broken the law, and they've been fined by the state government for exceeding allowable pollution limits. The total cost in fines that Covanta has paid for all these violations, and this is just environmental exceedances, this isn't labor violations, is $736,573. To me, that's a lot of broken promises. So I would like to know why should we expect Covanta to operate this incinerator differently?
Well, Councillor, we have an agreement with Covanta, and Covanta will follow the agreement or we'll fire them. So that's how the agreement reads, and that's how I'll enforce it.
Okay, my last question is, I would like to know, is it true, I know you can't comment at length on this for legal reasons, but is it true that Durham Region and Covanta are currently being sued by a public interest group called Durham Clear?
I don't think we're being sued. I think they're taking us to court
Sorry, if I could interrupt you for 1 second, sir. I declared a conflict on this issue earlier, so I have to leave the chambers momentarily. I have a perceived conflict. My wife's just
Neil,
with the organization. Thank you.
We'll bring you back in when we're...
I'm sorry, what was this conflict? Your Worship, I didn't hear it.
Well, I believe that Mrs. Neal is a contributor to Durham Clear.
Okay.
Is that correct, Councillor?
Thank you.
Is that accurate, that the region and Covanta are currently involved in litigation regarding the
Durham Clear
proposed
took
trash?
the region to court, and we're defending ourselves. That's correct.
Okay. Now, would you say that it's a good allocation of taxpayer dollars to be paying for an expensive Toronto law firm to fight the environmental group and to defend a project that could potentially endanger our health and contribute to environmental degradation and may not even be providing jobs for local workers and building as promised?
Absolutely, 100%. It's correct that we defend the taxpayers' dollars. As far as the Toronto lawyer, I think they have a Toronto lawyer, so maybe it's fair.
Folks
in the
audience, Mr. Chair, would you give me just a moment? In the audience, would you please listen? We don't need comments and would prefer that you did not make them out loud, so some decorum, please.
I would suggest to you, Councillor, that if somebody was suing the municipality of Clarington for falling on your sidewalk, you would defend yourself. This is a $270 million contract. I would suggest the region would be wise to defend itself, and we will.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I have one more question, but we can bring Councillor Neal back. It doesn't concern the ongoing litigation. Now, my last question is simply sort of coming on the tail of your saying that you think it is a good allocation of taxpayers' money to fight that. Is I'd like to know...
I said it's a good allocation of money to defend the regional's position.
So do you agree then that if the chair were elected, that this would create a higher level of accountability in the position of regional chair?
I don't think so. The chair is accountable to council, and he's accountable to the residents of Durham Region by the people who elected regional council. So it's not going to change. The difference is whoever gets elected, instead of getting elected 24 to 4, they're going to have 600,000 potential votes.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Do you have further questions for the regional chair? Councillor Hooper.